The arena was a circle of stone with high walls. Bright lights made everything look sharp and clear. The Gantel spectators filled the seats, their yellow eyes glowing in the darkness. General Korthak stood up. "Begin," he shouted. The 5 Gantel champions moved forward like a wall of death. Each one was 8 feet tall and covered in armor. Their weapons gleamed in the light. The human cadets looked tiny in comparison, but they did not run. They stood together, following the plan that Soyoung had made and Jinwoo had taught them. "Remember," Jinwoo called out, "fight like humans." The first champion charged at Daeho swinging a massive sword, but Daeho was not there when the sword came down. He had rolled to the side, just like Jinwoo had taught him while the champion was off balance. Taemin hit him from behind with a metal rod. The blow did not hurt the big alien much, but it surprised him. Gantel warriors were not used to enemies who attacked from behind. It was not honorable, but humans were not fighting for honor. They were fighting to survive. The second champion tried to grab Kyungho, but the young human slipped away like water. He had learned to move like Jinwoo had shown him, flowing around attacks instead of blocking them. Soyoung had the hardest job. She was the smallest human, but she was also the smartest. Her job was to confuse the champions and make them make mistakes. She ran between their legs, too fast for them to catch. She threw small objects to distract them. She called out false warnings to make them look the wrong way. "Behind you," she would shout, and a champion would turn around, only to be attacked from the front by another human. The battle was chaotic and wild. The Gantel spectators had never seen fighting like this. They were used to formal combat, where warriors faced each other directly. This was something completely different. Gin-Wu fought the biggest champion, a warrior called Drakta the Undefeated. Drakta was younger and stronger than Jinwoo, but the old human had 50 years of experience. "You are too old to fight me, human," Drakta growled as he swung his warhammer. Jinwoo ducked under the swing and hit the champion in the knee. "Age teaches patience," he replied calmly. The hammer smashed into the stone floor where Jin had been standing. Pieces of rock flew everywhere. "Stand still and fight like a warrior," Drakta demanded. "I am fighting like a human," Jinwoo said, dodging another massive swing. The other humans were working together perfectly. When one was in trouble, 2 others would help. When a champion focused on one human, another would attack from a different direction. But the Gantel champions were strong and skilled. Slowly they began to adapt to the human's strange fighting style. Wu Jin was the first to fall. A champion's club caught him in the shoulder and knocked him down. He tried to get up, but his arm was broken. "Wu Jin!" Daeho shouted. The young human's distraction almost cost him his life. A sword swept toward his head, but Taemin pushed him out of the way. The blade cut Taemin's arm instead. "Focus," Jinwoo called out. "Remember the plan." But the plan was falling apart. The humans were getting tired, and the champions were getting angry. Angry Gantel warriors were very dangerous soon. 3 more humans were down. Only Jinwoo, Daeho, Soyoung, Taemin, and Kyungho were still fighting. General Korthak was smiling. "Finish them." He ordered. The 5 champions closed in for the final attack. It looked like the humans had lost, but then Daeho remembered something his grandfather had written in an old letter. "When you cannot win with strength, win with heart." Jinwoo, Daeho called out. "The spinning blade technique." Now Jinwoo's eyes went wide. The spinning blade technique was one of the most difficult moves in Gantel martial arts. It required perfect timing and coordination between multiple fighters. "You do not know that technique," Jinwoo replied. "I know enough," Daeho said. "Trust me." There was no time to argue. Jinwoo nodded and began the opening moves of the spinning blade technique. The humans had no blades, but they had metal rods and training weapons. They began to move in the pattern that Jinwoo had taught them. It was not perfect. They made mistakes that a real master would never make, but it was close enough. The 5 champions found themselves facing something they had never seen before. The humans moved like a single creature with many arms. Every attack was blocked. Every opening was filled. Daeho was at the center of the formation, calling out timing and directions. His grandfather's blood sang in his veins. He could feel the pattern of the technique like it was part of his own heartbeat. "Left, right, spin, down," he shouted. The humans moved like dancers. They flowed around the champions' attacks and struck back with perfect coordination. One by one the champions fell, not because they were defeated by strength, but because they were confused and outmaneuvered by tactics they had never seen before. Drakta the Undefeated was the last one standing. He faced Jinwoo in the center of the arena, both of them breathing hard. "Impossible," Drakta said. "You are just humans. You should not be able to do this." Jinwoo smiled sadly. "That is what your people have never understood. We are not just humans. We are humans, and that is enough." The final clash was quick. Drakta charged with all his strength, putting everything into one massive attack, but Jinwoo was not there. He had moved at the last second, using the champion. The massive dome of the Galactic Council building stretched across the sky like a metal moon. Inside, thousands of alien beings sat in their floating chairs, looking down at the small human standing on the speaking platform. Ambassador King Taiwu adjusted his dark blue uniform and cleared his throat. His hands were shaking, but he tried to hide it. "Honored members of the council," Kim said, his voice echoing in the huge chamber. I speak for Earth and all humanity. This new tax will destroy our planet's economy. 400% is too much. Our people will starve. A low rumbling sound filled the room. It was alien laughter. The creatures were laughing at him. Chancellor Crix, the leader of the council, leaned forward in his golden chair. He was a warthog with gray skin like stone and 6 arms that moved like snakes. His yellow eyes glowed as he spoke. Ambassador Kim Crix said, his voice like grinding metal. Your species has been classified as Class C, primitive, backward. You should be grateful we allow you to exist in our galaxy. Kim felt his face grow hot with anger, but he kept his voice calm. Grateful? You want to steal our resources and leave us with nothing. That's not civilization. That's robbery. More laughter echoed through the chamber as Eltherin Trade Minister, her blue tentacles waving in the air, spoke up. Robbery. We are bringing order to the galaxy. Primitive worlds must pay for the privilege of our protection. Protection from what? Kim asked. From yourselves. The laughter stopped. The chamber grew quiet and cold. Chancellor Crix's 6 arms began to move faster, a sign that he was getting angry. Careful, human, Crix said. Your world has no military, no advanced technology, no allies. You exist because we allow it. Do not test our patience. Kim looked around the chamber. He saw hundreds of different alien species, all nodding in agreement. Some had scales, some had fur, some looked like walking trees, but they all had one thing in common. They were all afraid of the council. I have studied your history, Kim said, his voice growing stronger. Every species you have helped has become poorer. Every world you have protected has been until nothing was left. You are not leaders. You are parasites. The chamber exploded with angry voices. Aliens jumped from their seats, shouting in dozens of different languages, but Kim wasn't finished. And there's something else you should know about humans, Kim continued, raising his voice above the noise. We don't like bullies. We never have. We never will. Chancellor Crix raised all 6 of his arms, and the chamber fell silent. Enough, he said. The resource extraction tax is approved. All Class C worlds will pay 400% tax on all exports. Any resistance will be met with military force. The vote was quick. Red lights flashed across the chamber as each species voted. Only 3 small worlds voted against the tax. Earth was alone. Kim gathered his papers and walked toward the exit. As he passed the Zelthron section, one of the trade ministers hissed at him. Your species will learn to obey, human, or you will learn to die. Kim stopped and looked at the alien. Maybe, he said quietly, but if we die, we'll take some of you with us. Far away, on a blue and green planet called Earth, Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of his ship, the Soul. It was one of Earth's 12 defense ships, small and old compared to the massive vessels of the Council, but it was his ship, and he was proud of it. Captain, his communications officer said, we're getting reports from the outer system. Alien ships are approaching Earth. Lee Daeho looked at the screen. Dozens of huge ships were moving toward Earth. They were mining vessels, each one the size of a city. Behind them came warships, their weapons pointed at Earth. How many? Lee asked. 47 mining ships, sir, and 23 warships. Lee felt his stomach drop. Earth's entire defense fleet was only 12 ships. They couldn't fight that many enemies, sir, another officer said. We're receiving a message from the lead ship. Put it on screen. The face of a Vorthok appeared on the screen. It wasn't Chancellor Crix, but it looked just as arrogant. Humans of Earth, the alien said. I am Commander Vex of the Galactic Mining Corporation. Your planet has been selected for resource extraction. You will not resist. You will not interfere. Any attempt to stop our operations will result in the destruction of your cities. Lee Daeho stepped forward. This is Captain Lee Daeho of the Earth Defense Force. You are not welcome here. Leave now, or we will defend our world. Commander Vex laughed. With what? Your tiny ships. Your primitive weapons, human. You are like an insect threatening a giant, maybe, Lee said. But even insects can bite. The alien's laugh grew louder. Proceed with the mining operation. Ignore the humans. If they get in the way, swat them. The screen went dark. Lee looked around his bridge at his crew. They were all Korean, like him. They had trained together, fought together, and now they would die together if necessary. Order, sir. His first officer asked. Lee thought about his daughter, safe in Seoul. He thought about his parents who had survived the wars of the past. They had never given up. No matter how bad things got, that was the human way. Signaled the fleet, Lee said. All ships prepare for battle. We're going to show these aliens what humans are made of. Meanwhile, deep underground in a secret laboratory, Dr. Park Soo-jin worked frantically at her computer. She was young, only 35, but she was one of Earth's brightest scientists. For the past 10 years, she had been working on something that could change everything. Doctor, her assistant said, running into the lab. The aliens are here. They're starting to mine the continents. Park Soo-jin didn't look up from her screen. How long do we have? Maybe a week before they reach the major cities. That's not enough time. Park Soo-jin's fingers flew across the keyboard. We need at least 2 weeks to finish the project. What project? What are you working on? Park Soo-jin finally looked up. Her eyes were tired but determined. Something that will level the playing field. Something that will show the galaxy that humans are not as primitive as they think. She turned back to her computer. On the screen, complex blueprints scrolled past. They showed technology that looked alien, but different somehow. Improved, enhanced. The council thinks they know everything about us, Park Soo-jin said. They think we're just another backward species that will roll over and die, but they don't know our secret. What secret? Park Soo-jin smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been underestimated for too long. We've been studying them for 50 years. Every alien ship that ever came to Earth, we've scanned it. Every piece of technology they've left behind, we've taken apart and put back together. We know how their weapons work, how their shields work, how their ships work. She pointed to the screen, and we've made them better. Above ground, the first alien mining ships landed on Earth. They were massive, the size of mountains, and they began to tear into the ground with weapons that could cut through solid rock like butter. Forests disappeared in minutes. Mountains were reduced to rubble in hours, but in the distance, 12 small Earthships moved through space, getting ready for a fight that would change the galaxy forever. The war had begun, and the aliens had no idea what they had just started. 3 days after the alien mining ships landed, the attacks began. Colonel Choi Min-ho crouched behind a pile of rocks, watching the massive mining machine tear through the Korean countryside. The machine was as big as a building, with metal arms that could crush cars like paper. Alien workers moved around it, directing the destruction of everything he had grown up loving. "Team ready," he whispered into his radio. "Ready, sir," came the reply from Engineer Namj. She was hidden on the other side of the valley with a device that looked like a simple metal box, but inside that box was technology that would surprise the aliens. "Wait for my signal," Choi said. He watched as the mining machine moved closer to the small village below. The aliens had said they would avoid human settlements, but that was a lie. They wanted everything Earth had to offer. "Now," Choi whispered. Nam Ji-woo pressed a button on her device. Nothing seemed to happen for a moment. Then the massive mining machine began to shake. Its metal arms moved in strange directions. Sparks flew from its engines. The alien workers started shouting in their own language. They pressed buttons on their control panels, but nothing worked. The machine was going crazy, like it had a mind of its own. "What's happening?" One of the aliens screamed in broken English. Nam Ji-woo smiled from her hiding place. "Your machine is learning," she said. "Quietly learning to disobey you." The mining machine suddenly turned around and began attacking the alien transport ships. Its massive arms swung like hammers, crushing the smaller vehicles. The aliens ran in panic, some trying to call for help on their communicators, but their communicators weren't working either. The virus that Nam Ji-woo had created was spreading through all their electronic systems. It was a special kind of computer virus, one that could learn and adapt. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Fall back, the alien commander shouted, but his voice was getting weaker. The device on his belt that helped him breathe Earth's air was failing to. Within an hour, the entire mining operation was shut down. The aliens retreated to their ships, but even those were having problems. Systems that had worked perfectly for hundreds of years were now acting strange. "Command, this is Mining Unit 7, the alien commander said into his radio. "We need immediate technical support. The humans have some kind of weapon that affects our technology." "Impossible," came the reply from space. "Human technology is primitive. They barely have spaceflight." "Tell that to my mining equipment," the commander said, looking at the twisted metal remains of his machines. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Yoon Hae-jin watched the alien fleet through her ship's view screen. The aliens had 23 warships, each one 10 times larger than her biggest ship. "But size wasn't everything, ma'am," her communications officer said. "We're getting reports from the surface. Colonel Choi's mission was successful. The mining operation in Korea has been shut down." "Good," Admiral Yoon said. "What about the other sites?" "Operations in Brazil, Australia, and Canada are reporting similar successes. The aliens are starting to retreat from the surface." Admiral Yoon smiled. For 50 years, Earth had been visited by alien traders, diplomats, and explorers. Each time human scientists had studied their technology in secret. They had learned how alien computers worked, how their weapons functioned, how their ships were built, but more importantly, they had learned how to make those systems better. "Ma'am," her tactical officer said, "the alien fleet is moving toward us. They look angry." Through the view screen, Admiral Yoon could see the massive alien warships turning in their direction. Their weapons were charging, and their shields were powering up. "Let them come," she said. "It's time to show them what human engineering can do." The first alien ship to attack was a Vorthok destroyer. It fired a beam of pure energy that could cut through a mountain. The beam struck Admiral Yoon's ship, the Busan, directly in the center. The aliens expected to see the human ship explode. Instead, the Busan absorbed the energy and fired it back at them, but stronger and more focused. The alien destroyer's shields collapsed in seconds. Its hull began to crack and smoke poured from its engines. "How is that possible?" the alien captain screamed. He would never know the answer. The Busan's return fire punched through his ship like a hot knife through butter. "One down, Admiral," Yoon said calmly. 22 to go. On the surface, Dr. Park Soo-jin worked in her underground laboratory while the sounds of battle echoed from above. Her computers showed the fight in space, and she was proud of how well her improvements were. Working, doctor, her assistant said. The government wants to know if you can speed up production of the new ships. The new ships aren't ready yet, Park Soo-jin said. But we don't need them. The old ships are doing fine with the upgrades. She pointed to her screen, which showed technical readouts from the space battle. Look at this. The aliens are using the same tactics they've used for 1,000 years. Formation attacks, energy bombardment, shield walls, they never change because they never need to. And that's bad for them, very bad. Because our ships are learning from every attack. Every time they fire at us, our computers study their weapons and find better ways to defend against them. Every time they move, our systems predict where they'll go next. On the screen, they watched as 3 alien ships tried to surround one human vessel. It should have been an easy victory for the aliens. Instead, the human ships seemed to dance between their attacks, always knowing exactly where the enemy would strike next. It's like the ship can read their minds, the assistant said. Better than that, Park Soo-jin replied. It can read their programming. Every alien ship follows the same basic combat protocols. Once you know the protocols, you can predict everything they'll do. The human ship suddenly accelerated directly toward the 3 alien vessels. It looked like a suicide attack, but at the last second it fired a spread of missiles that curved around the aliens' shields and struck them from behind. 2 of the alien ships exploded immediately. The third tried to retreat, but the human ship was already there, waiting for it. Impossible, Park Soo-jin heard an alien voice say over the radio. How did they know where we would go? She leaned forward and spoke into her microphone. Because you've been using the same tactics for 1,000 years, and we've been watching you for 50. In space, the battle was turning into a rout. The aliens had expected to fight primitive humans with basic weapons. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. Admiral Yoon watched as the last alien warship tried to escape. It was damaged and smoking, its crew probably terrified. Should we let them go, ma'am? Her weapons officer asked. Yes, Admiral Yoon said. Let them run back to the council. Let them tell everyone what happened here. What should we tell them? Admiral Yoon thought for a moment. Tell them that humans are not as primitive as they thought. Tell them that we've been learning from them for 50 years. And tell them that if they want a war, we'll give them one. They'll never forget. The surviving alien ship limped away from Earth, its captain already composing a report that would shock the Galactic Council. On the surface, the alien mining operations were completely shut down. The aliens had retreated to their ships, their equipment destroyed or turned against them by human computer viruses. Colonel Choi Min-ho stood in the ruins of the mining site, watching the alien ships disappear into the sky. Think they'll be back? Engineer Nam Ji-woo asked. Oh, they'll be back, Choi said. But next time they'll bring more ships. Good, Nam Ji-woo said, patting the device on her belt. I have more tricks to show them. Above them, the first phase of humanity's war for survival was over. They had won this battle, but both sides knew it was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were full of surprises. Chancellor Crick slammed his 6 fists on the table so hard that the metal cracked. Around him, the emergency council meeting was in chaos. Alien leaders were shouting at each other in dozens of different languages. Silence, Crick roared. His voice echoed through the chamber, and slowly the noise died down. Now, Commander Vex, explain to me how a primitive species destroyed half of your fleet. Commander Vex stood in the center of the room, his gray skin pale with fear. Chancellor, the humans have technology we've never seen before. Their ships can predict our movements. Their weapons can turn our own systems against us. Impossible, said Trade Minister Zelix, her blue tentacles waving angrily. We've studied the humans for decades. They barely have spaceflight. Their weapons are crude, their computers are simple. Then explain this, Vex said, pressing a button on his control device. A holographic display showed the battle near Earth. The council members watched in stunned silence as human ships danced around, their warships like they were standing still. They're reading our tactical manuals, General Kron said quietly. The massive Krelthan warrior rarely spoke, but when he did, everyone listened. Somehow, they know exactly what we're going to do before we do it. That's not possible, Chancellor, Crick said. Our tactical databases are encrypted with quantum locks. No primitive species could break them. Maybe they didn't break them, General Kron said. Maybe they just watched us fight and learned our patterns. The room fell silent. The idea that a Class C species could outthink the galaxy's greatest military minds was too horrible to consider. It doesn't matter how they did it, Chancellor Crick said finally. General Kron, you will take the Krelthan war fleet to Earth, destroy their ships, burn their cities, make an example of them that the entire galaxy will remember. General Kron bowed his massive head. It will be done. Chancellor, the humans will learn what happens when primitives challenge their betters. 3 weeks later, the largest military fleet in galactic history approached Earth. 500 Krelthan warships, Each one the size of a city, moved through space like a wall of metal and death. At their head was the flagship Dominator, commanded by General Kron himself. Fleet Admiral Bei Sungwoo stood on the bridge of his ship, the Incheon, and watched the alien armada approach. He had only 50 ships to defend Earth, but he wasn't worried. Not anymore. Admiral, his tactical officer said, "The aliens are hailing us, put them through." General Kron's massive face appeared on the screen. It looked like a cross between a bear and a shark, with teeth like knives and eyes like black holes. "Human Admiral Kron," said, his voice like grinding stone. "I am General Kron of the Krelthan Empire. You have 30 minutes to surrender your fleet and your planet. If you refuse, I will destroy every human city on Earth." Admiral Bei smiled. "General Kron, I have a message for you from the people of Earth." "Speak, go to hell." General Kron's roar of anger shook his ship. "You will regret those words. Human, attack, destroy them all." The Krelthan fleet moved forward in perfect formation. It was a sight that had terrified species across the galaxy for 1,000 years. Wall after wall of massive warships, their weapons charging, their shields glowing. But something was wrong. Admiral Bei's ships weren't running away. They weren't even forming defensive positions. Instead, they were moving toward the Krelthan fleet at full speed. "They're committing suicide," one of Kron's officers said. "No," General Kron said slowly. "They have a plan. I can see it in their formation." "But what?" His question was answered when the human ships suddenly split apart like a flower opening. But instead of scattering, they formed a complex three, the pattern that the Krelthans had never seen before. Tactical Officer General Kron barked analysis. "I don't understand their formation, sir. It doesn't match any known combat doctrine." "Then we'll destroy them with superior firepower." All ships, open fire. 500 Krelthan warships fired at once. The space around Earth lit up like a star as energy beams, missiles, and plasma bolts filled the void. It was enough firepower to destroy a planet. But when the light faded, the human ships were still there. Not only that, they were completely undamaged. "Report," General Kron shouted, double quote, "Sir, our weapons. They passed right through the human ships like they weren't there. Impossible." "Scan them again." "Sir, the scans show ... nothing. The human ships don't exist according to our sensors." General Kron stared at the screen. The human ships were right there, moving in their strange formation, but his computers insisted they weren't real. "It's a hologram," he said finally. "They're projecting false images to confuse us. Find their real ships." But before his officers, what could respond? The human ships opened fire. Beams of energy struck the Krelthan fleet with surgical precision, not the wild bombardment that most primitive species used, but carefully aimed shots that found the weak points in Krelthan armor. Krelthan warships exploded in the first volley. "How?" General Kron whispered. "How did they know where to shoot?" Captain Han Dongmin sat in the pilot seat of his ship, the Daegu, and smiled. His ship was small compared to the alien monsters around him, but it was special. It was the first ship designed completely by humans, using everything they had learned from 50 years of studying alien technology. "Computer," he said calmly, "show me the weak points on the nearest Krelthan ship." The computer, powered by an artificial intelligence that could learn and adapt in real time, highlighted dozens of vulnerable spots on the alien vessel. Target locks appeared on Captain Han's screen. "Fire," he said. Dock the Daegu's weapons, designed to exploit the exact weaknesses that human engineers had found in Krelthan armor. Struck the enemy's ship with perfect accuracy. The massive warship broke apart like it was made of paper. "One down," Captain Han said. 487 to go. All around him the other human ships were doing the same thing. Each one was piloted by a computer that had studied Krelthan tactics for decades. Each one knew exactly where to shoot, exactly when to move, exactly how to win. The Krelthan fleet, which had never lost a battle in 1,000 years, was being torn apart by tiny human ships that seemed to know their every weakness. "Retreat," General Kron finally shouted. "All ships, retreat." But it was too late. The human ships had surrounded them, moving in patterns that made no sense but were somehow perfectly effective. Every time a Krelthan ship tried to escape, a human vessel was there waiting for it. Tactical specialist Oyana watched the battle from her command center on Earth. She had designed the attack pattern that the human ships were using. Based on her study of Krelthan military doctrine, the Krelthans always retreat in the same formation, she had told Admiral Bei before the battle. They move their damaged ships to the center and form a protective shell around them. It's worked for them for centuries. So what do? We let them form their shell, then we collapse it from the inside. Now, watching the battle unfold exactly as she had predicted, Oyana allowed herself a small smile. The Krelthans were doing exactly what their training had taught them to do. Unfortunately for them, the humans had read their training manuals. "All ships," Admiral Bei said over the radio. "Execute pattern Omega." The human ships suddenly accelerated toward the center of the Krelthan formation. General Kron, seeing them coming, ordered his ships to tighten their defensive shell. It was exactly what the humans wanted him to do. As the Krelthan ships moved closer together, the human vessels, fired specialized weapons that created a chain reaction. One explosion led to another, and another, until the entire center of the Krelthan fleet was consumed in a ball of fire. General Crone watched in horror as 200 of his ships died in seconds. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No primitive species could plan something like this." "General," his communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving a message from the human fleet." "Put it through." Admiral Bay's face appeared on the screen. "General Kron, this is your only warning. Leave our solar system now, or we will destroy the rest of your fleet." General Kron felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. "Fear human," he said slowly. "How did you know our tactics?" "Because we've been studying you for 50 years, Admiral Bay replied. "We know how you think, how you fight, how you retreat. We know everything about you, but you're primitives... ... No, General, we're not primitives, we're humans, and we learn from our enemies." General Kron looked at his tactical display. He had started the battle with 500 ships. Now he had less than 200 and they were all damaged. "Retreat," he said quietly. "All ships, retreat to hyperspace." As the surviving Krelthan ships limped away from Earth, General Kron sent a message to the Galactic Council that would change everything. "The humans are not what we thought they were," he transmitted. "They are not primitives. They are not weak. They are the most dangerous species I have ever encountered, and we have made them our enemies." The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The Krelthan war fleet, undefeated for 1,000 years, had been crushed by primitive humans. On every world, in every space station, beings whispered the impossible truth. Earth had. Diplomat Jung Hae-won sat in her small office on the trading station of Kepler-7, watching the news reports with growing excitement. She was Earth's first ambassador to the Outer Rim territories, and for months she had been trying to convince other species to trade with humanity. No one had been interested in dealing with primitives. Now everything was different. Ambassador Jung, her assistant, said, rushing into the office. "The Altarian Mining Guild wants to meet with you right now." Jung Hae-won smiled. The Altarians controlled half the mining operations in this sector of the galaxy, but they had been under council taxation for decades. If they were coming to her, it meant they were desperate. "Show them in," she said. 3 tall crystal-like beings entered her office. Their leader, someone Jung recognized as Guildmaster Velta, seemed nervous. Ambassador Jung Velta said in his musical voice, "We have heard about the battle at Earth. Is it true that your species defeated the Krelthan fleet?" "It's true," Jung said simply. "How many ships did you lose?" "None." The 3 Altarians looked at each other with their glowing eyes. In their crystalline faces, Jung could see amazement and hope. "We have a proposal," Velta said carefully. "The council taxes our mining operations at 300%. It's destroying our civilization. If Earth could help us... ... What kind of help?" Jung asked. "Military protection. In exchange, we would share our mining technology and provide rare minerals for your ships." Jung Hae-won leaned back in her chair. This was exactly what Earth needed, allies and resources. But more importantly, it was proof that other species were ready to stand up to the council. "I'll have to contact Earth," she said, "but I think we can work something out." Meanwhile, in the vegan agricultural collective, farmers and food producers were having similar conversations. For years, the council had forced them to sell their crops at low prices while charging high taxes on the profits. They were tired of being poor while the council grew rich. "The humans fought back," said Farmer Kethalan to his neighbor. "Maybe we can too. But the humans have ships and weapons. We only have farms." "No," Kethalan said, looking up at the stars. "We have something more important. We have food, and everyone in the galaxy needs to eat." On Earth, General Shin was already planning humanity's next move. He stood in the war room deep beneath Seoul, surrounded by maps of the galaxy. Each map showed a different world under council control, and each world was a potential ally, "Sir," his aide said. "We're getting reports from our ambassadors across the galaxy. Dozens of species want to meet with us. They're asking for military protection in exchange for trade agreements." "Good," General Shin said. "But we can't protect everyone with just 50 ships. We need to be smart about this." He pointed to a cluster of star systems near the galaxy's edge. "These worlds are the furthest from council control. If we can liberate them first, we can use them as bases to help other species." "Liberate them how, sir?" General Shin smiled. "The same way we beat the Krelthans, with superior strategy and their own mistakes." Dr. Lee Sung-hoon was working on a different kind of weapon altogether. In his laboratory on Mars, he was developing technology that could repair damaged worlds, rather than destroy them. It was a radical idea that no other species had ever considered. "Doctor," his research team leader said, "the terraforming device is ready for testing." Dr. Lee looked at the small silver cylinder on his workbench. It was no bigger than his hand, but inside it contained the power to bring dead worlds back to life. "Have you selected a test site?" he asked. "Yes, sir. The world of Nix-7 the council strip-mined 50 years ago. Nothing lives there now except bacteria." "Perfect. If we can make Nix-7 green again, every oppressed species in the galaxy will want to join us. The test was conducted in secret, with only a single human ship carrying the device to the dead world. Nix 7 was a brown, dusty planet where nothing had grown for decades. The Council had taken everything valuable and left behind only poisoned soil and polluted water. Dr. Lee's team planted the terraforming device in the planet's core and activated it remotely. For 3 days, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly at first, green began to appear on the planet's surface. Within a week, Nix 7 was covered in new plants and clean water. The poisoned soil was healing itself, and the dead atmosphere was becoming breathable again. The news of Nix 7's transformation spread even faster than the reports of the Krelthan defeat. For the first time in galactic history, someone was fixing damaged worlds instead of destroying them. Back on the Galactic Council station, Chancellor Crix was facing the biggest crisis of his career. His office was full of angry representatives from member species, all demanding answers. "Chancellor," said the representative from the hegemony worlds, "our colonies are refusing to pay taxes. They say if the humans can fight back, so can they. The trade routes are becoming unstable," added another representative. 3 major shipping companies have switched to human protection services, and now there are reports that dead worlds are coming back to life, said a third. "If the humans can repair damaged planets, what do they need us for?" Chancellor Crix raised his 6 arms for silence. "The human threat will be dealt with. I'm preparing to launch the Grand Fleet. Every Council world will contribute ships. We will crush Earth once and for all." But even as he spoke, Crix knew he was losing control. The humans had done something that no species had ever managed before. They had given the galaxy hope. General Shin Kung Min received the intelligence report about the Grand Fleet while he was visiting the liberated world of Altair 3. The Altarian miners had welcomed the humans as heroes, and were already sharing their advanced mining technology. "How many ships?" he asked his intelligence officer. "Over 2,000, sir. Every Council species is being forced to contribute. It's the largest fleet in galactic history." General Shin nodded calmly. "Good. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Sir, with respect, we only have about 200 ships now, even counting our new allies. How can we fight 2,000? "The same way David fought Goliath," General Shin replied, "with the right stone in the right place at the right time." On the agricultural world of Vega 5, the food producers had made their decision. Farmer Kethlin stood before a gathering of thousands of his people and held up a document. "This is our declaration," he said. "From this day forward, the Vegan Agricultural Collective will no longer pay taxes to the Council. We will trade only with Earth and their allies." The crowd cheered. For the first time in their history, they were free. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy, on mining worlds, agricultural planets, and manufacturing centers. Species that had been oppressed for centuries were finally finding the courage to stand up for themselves. And at the center of it all was a small blue planet called Earth, whose people had learned that sometimes the best way to fight a bully was to teach others how to fight back. Admiral Ko Yunbai commanded the combined liberation fleet from her flagship. The Busan around her, ships from a dozen different species, flew in formation, human vessels alongside Altarian miners, vegan transports, and others who had joined the growing rebellion. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "we're receiving a message from Chancellor Crix himself. Put him through." The familiar face of the Council leader appeared on her screen. His yellow eyes were full of rage, and all 6 of his arms were shaking with anger. "Human Admiral Crix said, you have turned the galaxy against us. You have corrupted the natural order, but it ends now. The Grand Fleet is coming to destroy you and every world that supports you." Admiral Ko smiled. "Chancellor Crix, you still don't understand, do you? This was never about Earth versus the Council. This was about freedom versus oppression. And freedom always wins in the end." "We shall see," Crix said, and cut the transmission. Admiral Ko turned to her fleet commanders, humans, Altarians, vegans, and others who had chosen to fight for their freedom. "You heard him," she said. "The Grand Fleet is coming. Are you ready?" "Ready," came the reply from 200 ships and a dozen different species. The final battle was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same.